and welcome back to the Spot of Wisdom podcast. I'm Shannon, I run Spot That Dog, and I am based in Bristol.
Hi, I'm Jade, and I run that dog based in Wrexham.
So today we are talking about what makes an overweight dog, the issues that come with it, and basically what you can do with your dog to prevent it, and also what is available for you rather than just walking your dog. So Jade, your boys,
Yes.
I often say they're pretty big, but not in that sense. How heavy are your two?
No, so my boys are completely different shapes. So you've got Sherlock, who now always gets mistaken for a girl
Yeah,
because when we're walking next to Kevin, he just looks so thin and delicate. So he's 32 kilograms
yeah,
and Kevin is 37 and a half.
you chunky boy.
Yes. So there's a massive difference between the two of them. I always get really, really offended because people hear how much Kevin weighs in comparison to Sherlock and assumes he's massive and he's fat,
Yeah,
and he's really not.
I think Kevin will drop some weight soon though, because
He's
I was
losing
expecting
that puppy fat.
I was expecting Bucky to be at least 36 kilos, but at his last vet visit he was only 31.
Yeah.
So,
You know when
but
they've gone from that puppy stage where they're really like chunky
chunky, yeah,
and then they turn into teenagers and then they're just all leg,
yeah,
everything disappears.
yeah.
Kind of in that stage at the minute.
So is because I think we've got the same with our two. Sherlock's a bit more athletic.
Sherlock's got the speed and the
Yeah,
stamina, whereas Kevin does not.
I
He's
do
lovely,
feel like
but
ours
he's
are quite similar,
not.
aren't they? Because the
They
same with
are.
my two. Bucky is just a lump.
Yes.
And then Woody, he is, I mean, he's done agility, he's fast, he's streamlined, like, and
Yeah.
he's lighter weight. So I think, I don't know, I think he was 30 the last time we weighed him, but we try not to take him to the vet very often.
I always liken him to a bit of a sight hound in his shape. Like he's quite narrow, he's slim, he goes up quite a
Yeah,
lot. Nice tuck underneath his tummy, and he can just run and run and run and run, and he loves nothing more than running.
yeah,
Um, Whereas Kevin has like a short burst, and then he's like, no, that's enough for me.
yeah.
Yeah.
And for those, like, in the Dalmatian world, you do see quite a few fat Dalmatians, don't you? And now
All,
that
all
I'm
the
not,
time.
we're not just going to target Dalmatians, but obviously we do see more of them. Um, there's quite a few fat Dalmatians out there. It
We've
depends
been,
on where you go, but
yeah, we
even in the show ring, I've seen some that are a bit overweight.
really.
Yeah,
Oh, you'd think you wouldn't
not
in that,
many,
wouldn't
not
you?
very many, but only a tad overweight. Whereas
Yeah.
I think when you see some pet Dalmatians, they are what I would call obese.
Yes, I've been to a few breed meets,
Oh
and
yeah.
people come up to you and they're like, your dog's really skinny. Like, is there something wrong with him? And I'm like, no,
No, your
our
dog's just
dogs are just kind of like
really fat.
barrel shaped. And it really, really annoys me because when you look at what they were supposed to be bred to
Hmm.
do, they
Just
are
run.
bred to run and run and run and run. So they should not be overweight at all.
And I think this is the thing that, I mean, we've had this discussion recently. If your dog is running and running and running and running and it's still fat,
Yeah,
you are doing something wrong. I give
100%.
it. Some dogs can experience thyroid issues, the same as people. So it might be a health issue. However, the likelihood is that you're overfeeding your dog. And it's quite easy when it comes to kibble and
Yeah.
biscuits based food. It's very easy to overfeed your dog and actually give them too many calories, especially if you've got a worse quality kibble. I mean I don't feed kibble,
Mhm.
but I'm a bit of a kibble snob anyway. I've done my canine nutrition course. I know what the standard dog should be having. So if there's not, it's recommended 50% pure fresh meat, but the likelihood of that, unless you're paying stupid money for a bag of kibble, isn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So if I'm looking for a bag of kibble, because occasionally if we go on holiday, I'll buy
Yeah.
it.
100%. Yeah.
Um, it needs to be at least over 30% fresh meat, not meal, not derivatives, fresh
Yeah.
meat.
Yeah.
Because I'm a bit of a snob. I say snob. I
Yeah,
want the best
that's
for my
right.
dog.
No, I think that's right. Yeah, and I think. like you said, if your dog is putting on weight but is exercising daily, proper exercising, not like a 10-minute round the block, like proper
Yeah,
exercising, and they were still putting on weight, 100% get them vet checked
yeah,
because that could be a sign of something. Otherwise, check what you're feeding them because, like you said, it's so easy to overfeed kibble. They give you like a weight guide, don't they? They're like,
yeah,
if your weighs between 20 and whatever else, feed them this amount. But like I was saying to a client yesterday, I said, your dog might be at the lower end of that bracket doing no exercise. And then you might have a dog that's at the top end of that bracket that's doing miles and miles and miles a day. And yet, according to the back of the food packet, they should be being fed the same amount.
yeah. And that's the thing that I find really strange about dog food, because with horse feed, I mean,
Mm,
obviously horses are worked. That is what it is.
yeah,
Most of them get something done. On the
yeah.
back of a horse food packet, it says like retired, light work, medium work, heavy work, competing.
Okay. Yeah,
So you feed depending on what work level they're on. So it has like down here would be the work part, so light, heavy, medium,
yeah,
whatever. And then that way will be your weight guide. So is your horse 400 kilos? Is your horse
yes,
500, 600, 700? So then all the columns have got it for what you've got. So like Ada's 500 kilos and she's not in any work. So she will have a lower amount of food than what someone else might have. And I think, although, okay, dogs are a bit different, they should at least have an activity scale on the back of dog food. So it should be lazy. Lazy is not an insult when it comes to that. Lazy dogs who don't want to do it a lot. You've got like semi-active dogs who they'll happily go for a walk, but they could quite happily stay at home as well. Or you've got active dogs who literally want to go all
yeah.
day, every day.
So when I was speaking to a nutritionist, what she said, and I think sounds really good, is people underestimate what active is.
Yeah,
So they go, oh, I take my dog for an hour run a day. That classes as an active dog. And actually, that's not an active
no,
dog. When they're looking at that, they're talking about, your proper working spaniels, for example, that are
yeah,
out hours and hours and hours. Just because your dog's doing an hour's run, it does not make it an active dog. What I would also say, because I was talking about it this week, I would go off how many calories your dog needs,
yeah,
not the weight of the food or your dog. So, like for example, if you're looking at raw, they say, don't they, 2 to 3% of an
yeah,
adult dog. But then if you're feeding tripe in comparison to beef, in
yeah.
comparison to chicken, in comparison to fish, they've all got different calorie levels. So then you're going to be feeding your dog differently every day without realizing because you've just changed the protein.
Yeah, and then you've also got like you'll see, especially with the raw feeding, that a lot of people go, "Oh, my dog's so hungry since I changed it to raw." And it's like, well, you've got to think raw food isn't filled with extras.
Yeah,
So a lot, if you look at the back of your kibble, but like boxes or whatever you feed them with,
yeah,
it's likely that there's going to be rice, maybe some maize or some
yeah,
cereals, and depending on the quality of the kibble you've got, but rice tends to be high up on there.
yeah,
Um, Rice is a useless feed for dogs. They don't need it, but
yeah,
it fills them up, it fills out the bag, and essentially it makes it cheaper for the manufacturers to make the dog food because they're not filling the bag with pure meat, they're filling the bag with a little bit of meat and then the rest is rice.
yeah. Which is why, like you've said, if you end up buying not even a cheaper food, because it doesn't, the expensive ones always aren't always the best ones, but if you
No.
buy a lower quality,
Yeah,
you will have to feed more of it.
yeah,
So in the end, if you're trying to save money by feeding a lower quality, by the time you've probably fed the amount you're supposed to feed, you're probably spending the same amount of money
yeah,
anyway than if you'd have fed more of a higher quality one.
yeah. And I think you end up feeding more to fill up your dog because they are hungrier. They're
Yeah,
getting used to a certain, like you said, a certain level of calories and a certain level of fullness. But when if you do a switch, they're not quite sure. Same with people.
yeah,
If you keep eating and you keep eating, your stomach's going to get bigger. It's going to swell. You're
yeah,
going to be able to take in more food. As if it's like when we get ill. If we are ill for 2 weeks and we're stuck in bed, we then can't eat the same amount that we used to
yeah,
because our stomach shrunk because we're not used to food that time. So when you change foods, it's definitely one of those things in that. it is affected by it. Um, yeah, I think,
I think something else to remember as well, um, is all the treats that you give your dogs as an extra.
yeah,
A lot of
extra
people
calories.
forget to kind of add or factor that in. So I was speaking to a lovely lady, and she won't mind me mentioning her. She's lovely. She was trying to work out the calories that she was feeding her dogs. She had an amount, but she hadn't factored in her natural
Yeah,
treats, which are calories as
yeah,
well. And she hadn't factored in things like peanut butter that she was putting on a Kong every day. So what she was actually doing without realizing is if you look at the calories in peanut butter, this dog was getting 300 to 400 calories
yeah.
extra every day just for a peanut butter inside a Kong.
And I used to do it. Like Woody,
Yeah,
there was a stage where Woody was overweight. Um, and that was because so I used to raw feed, or I still raw feed, but I used to do chunks. And what I used to do was give him 2 or 3 chunks in the morning,
yeah,
but I didn't actually realize how much those chunks weighed.
yeah,
So one, I was probably by his morning meal, he'd probably had his daily allowance because I
yeah,
didn't realize they weighed as much as they did. But then
yeah,
he'd have a couple of natural treats a day. Like you think realistically, a rabbit ear and a chicken foot, they're not a lot. There's not a lot of calories to them. However, if you're doing that a couple of times a day, plus I was overfeeding anyway. Um, since he was reactive, he did get less
yeah,
exercise originally because obviously he went from being a run around all the time to strict
yeah.
on lead.
Hmm.
Things are different now because obviously I know what I'm doing. It's one of those, and it does change. It's just one of those, like I said, if you don't factor in that these treats weigh extra. So I say to a lot of clients, um, we'll just take a handful out of, fill out, weigh their daily allowance,
Yeah,
take a handful out, and that'll be your training treats for the day. And if you're not going to use the kibble, just take it out anyway, put it back in the box. But that weight that you've taken out, you can then use for treats.
yeah. Hmm.
And you do get some people that don't seem to like doing that, but I think they miss the point in that you're still giving them the same weight of food that they would do every single day.
Yeah,
Um, it's like us, we've got a calorie count or we've got to weigh out our food if we want to go on a diet, so we know how much we're having. Same with, I mean, I don't agree with any of it, but like Slimming World, Weight Watchers, and all that, in
yeah,
that if you want to eat something, you've got to not eat something else, kind of thing.
yeah,
So for a
yeah.
dog who is overweight and might be on a diet, you've just got to take that out of what they'd be eating every day anyway.
No, I mention that in classes, and you can tell people get a bit iffy about it. It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
you're telling them to starve you their dog, and
That's
I'm like,
the thing, and you're not saying
no,
feed any less. You're just saying feed less of their kibble,
yeah,
but replace it with your training treats.
yeah.
Is no different. They're still getting their daily allowance, and
They do. They
they
look at
yeah
you like, oh, I'm starving my dog. And I'm like, you've not. It's like, you've been in here for an hour. Like,
yeah.
think of all the treats that you've used in this hour.
Do you
Just,
ever get it when people come in and go, I didn't expect to use this many treats? And I'm like,
oh,
I
yeah.
did tell you.
I write now on my email to people, I go, bring treats,
Yeah,
but then add more treats.
yeah,
Like, you think you've got enough, you
yeah.
haven't.
That's exactly what mine says. Mine says, bring treats, and when you think you've got enough, add some more.
Exactly
Every
that.
single time. And people still get shocked with how much they use. And it's because
Yeah.
when you're training a new behavior, whether it's tricks, whether it's
Yeah.
reactivity, whether it's agility, whatever, when you're training a new behavior, you have to keep doing it. Like you have to keep treating until they get what they're doing, and then you phase out the treats.
Yes. I mean, like we do lead walking, and to begin with, I'm like, right, we're going to reward the position, then we're going to reward one step, and then we're
Yeah,
going to reward two steps. You're going to go through a lot of treats.
yeah,
Yeah,
a lot.
a
People
lot of
don't
treats.
seem to do that. But yeah, like I mean, as we said, it's not all about diet. If your dog's um put on weight out of nowhere, if they're slowly increasing, but again your food's not increasing and your exercise regime hasn't changed, or if you've increased your exercise but are still putting on weight, then it's definitely worth a vet check. Just to discuss things because, like I said, you can have thyroid, your dogs can have diabetes. There's loads of things that can add to it that may not be the case. It might be, or vice versa. If a dog starts losing weight and you don't know why, they might have problems with their teeth. They might have gut issues. They might not. There's a lot to it.
Mhm.
Um, so if anything's changed, as with everything, vet check, make sure
Yeah,
it's one of those. We are kind of sticking to around about the same chat today, but we're going to have some little side subjects. So my original spur for this topic is different to what we're going to talk about.
Okay.
However, so we've had this discussion before when you see people on the breed specific group and they're like, oh, my dog goes out 4 times a day and they've still got so much energy. Why is that, Jade?
Who's doing too much with them? People have this obsession with over exercising their dog, and what they don't realize is that you're essentially training a marathon runner.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just going to have a dog that needs more and more and more and more exercise. So I had a lady I worked with. I don't work with her anymore, so I can talk about her. But she had a dog, and bless her, she had a really important job. She was really busy during a day, and she used to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning to walk her dog for 4 hours before she got the kids ready for school, and then before she went to work because she had done just that. She'd started off by taking her dog out for half an hour every day. That wasn't tiring out anymore. So then she did an hour, and that wasn't tiring out anymore. So then she did two, and then she did three, and then she did four. And this dog was getting walked for like 6 hours a
Yeah,
day. And even then, because that's why I went to see her, the dog was a nightmare during the day. It was chewing things, it was picking things up that it shouldn't have, it was barking, it was humping, it was everything you could think of. This dog was doing it because although she was exercising it, it wasn't using its brain, and
yeah,
it also had absolutely no clue how to just go to sleep.
yeah. So you've not only got a dog that's overtired, but you've also got a dog that hasn't been mentally stimulated. Like
Yeah.
people don't seem to think or realize that actually we need both mental and physical stimulation. If you went about your work day,
Mhm.
went to the gym, went home, and then led in bed,
Yeah.
you're going to be bored out of your mind.
Yeah.
You're probably not going to go asleep because your brain's just not going to do it. You haven't had time to actually, your brain to decompress, your brain to relax. And you're probably just going to be stood staring at the wall for however many hours until you actually physically are tired.
Yeah.
And actually, I've had quite a few one-to-one clients recently where on their forms they said, oh no, we don't do any mental stimulation, and literally just introducing a snuffle mat or a licking mat
Yeah.
has changed quite a lot in the dog. And again, people don't seem to realize that licking, chewing, sniffing are all ways to decrease any stimulation
Yeah.
or like excess stimulation. It helps reduce their adrenaline levels. I always forget which one. It releases cortisol, doesn't it? Is that the right
Yes.
one? It releases the happy endorphins and all that.
I mean,
Yeah, and that. So licking, sniffing, and chewing, they all help to reduce your dog's stress levels. It helps to reduce their adrenaline. It helps calm them and chill them out. Um, so I always say, like, after a dog walk, give your dog a chew. Put them away in their crate or in their pen, or just let them chill out in their bed with a chew to help all those. They might have had a lovely walk, but there's the excitement levels.
yeah.
So help them reduce those excitement levels by giving them a chew or a licking mat or something, just so that they can start to release their like chemicals and just chill out a little bit. And then you're more likely to have a dog that's actually gonna just chill.
Yeah.
And this is why, and I don't think people seem to realize again that why we say sniffy walks are like equivalent to an hour. A 20-minute sniffy walk is equivalent to an hour running
Yeah.
because it works their brain. Like it might be nothing to us because our nose doesn't work the same way, but they're getting information about every dog that has passed that point. They've got information about the foxes from last night, the cats, they've got people walking by, they've got the cars, they get information about everything that's happened in the last 24 hours. No, we can't smell it, but the dog can smell everything that has been in that area for God knows how long.
Yeah, 100%. And I think as well, if you've got to, people tend to forget as well what their dogs were bred for. So, if you've got a dog that was bred for sniffing and tracking and finding things, and they're not getting an outlet for that,
Yeah,
it's just going to go wrong. It's like with your Labradors, if they've not given an outlet to pick up and carry and parade and do all that kind of stuff, they're going to do that on your furniture or
yeah.
your remote control or whatever else.
And I've had one, again, they won't mind. they're probably not even listening to be fair. Safi
Mm,
recently come to my classes and they were saying, oh, we avoided them like tugging and biting on things because we thought it might be the
yeah,
wrong sort of thing. It might like encourage them to do the wrong thing. And like, it doesn't. It harnesses that natural need that they have to bite onto things because you're giving them a tug session. You're letting them do, if you do bite work, then you're letting them do that natural genetic thing, but in a controlled manner. And once they've done it, that's it for the day. They've sorted
yeah,
what they need to do,
exactly that.
and
Yeah,
then they can go and chill on. And the whole point is that you don't just so like I got all my tug toys. They don't stay out. They are kept away, not in a box, but they're all kept down here. Like the dogs don't have access to them 24/7. One, because they're expensive and I don't want my dog ripping them to shreds. And two, because then it is not exciting. If I'm gonna let my dog just play with their tuggy toys all day, every day, they're then not going to want to play with them when I
yeah,
bring them out.
not to be aware of.
And I
Yeah,
also want them to know that there's an appropriate time and place for those toys to be played with. So if we're talking again about like a bully breed with that bite inhibition,
yeah.
if I've told them or I've trained them that they only get to do that when that toy comes out, they're not going to do it any other time because I've trained them that that only happens when that toy comes out.
You've given them an outlet for
Yep.
it. I think as well, you've got to remember that for certain breeds, you're going to get those behaviors regardless of whether you want them or not.
Yeah.
So you can either fight your dog about them and try and stop them doing it permanently and cause both of you stress. Or exactly as you've just said, you can go, you know what? We don't do that behavior in this
Mm-hmm.
situation. We can do it in this situation with me in a way that I can almost
Yeah.
control. And then they get that enrichment, that outlet there. And then they're not going to go out and find it elsewhere because you've provided that for
Yeah.
them. So I get a lot of that for tug of war. A lot of people, and I don't know whether that's a social media thing or I don't know, a lot of people won't play tug of war
Yeah.
because they've been told it'll cause the dog to bite or the dog will become aggressive or possessive or guardy and all this kind of stuff. And actually, all the dog wants to do is play a really good game of tug of war.
Yeah. My
Yeah.
dogs absolutely love Woody more so than Bucky, but
Yeah.
Woody loves the game of tug, especially if it's one of
Kevin's
the ones I
favorite.
don't think I've got any to access. But
Yeah.
if you've got, I've got one here.
Yeah.
This one, we've got loads. Woody's staring at me now.
Kevin loves it. He will recall away from anything for a game of tug of war. Absolutely anything.
I've got a whole bag somewhere, but oh, here we go. This is the one I was trying to say. So if it's like this one's got a ball on it.
Yeah.
Woody loves these because he is absolutely obsessed with a ball.
Yeah.
Um, So if he gets a tug with a ball in the end as well, he absolutely loves it. I'm going to promo quickly. Anyone, if you want a tug enough toy, code spot that dog at checkout, you'll get discount. Um, but every breed, I don't know a dog that doesn't like a tuggy toy. I've not found one yet. And
No, I
even
think
like,
they do so many different types. I think
yeah,
it would be very hard to find a dog where nothing suited them
yeah,
at all. Yeah.
they've got such a range that there is, like you said, there's anything. So they've got their clams, so then a dog that likes to sniff
Yeah.
or retrieve. You've got the clam, so you can put treats in it. You've got all of the different types of tug toys. You've got, I think these ones. So while they're a tug, one has
Yeah.
got a squeaker in it. You're gonna see my dogs here now.
It's fantastic.
Um, but they're the chaser toys, so they get to run around. They get to chase them. You get to do like a little bit like the flirt pole where you
Yes.
blur with it. Think of like the rhythmic gymnastics with the ribbon.
It's ribbon.
Yeah, but for dog stuff.
The
Um,
flip pole. One of my favorite exercises in class is to have the dog recalling through some
yeah.
distractions, and I'm stood in the middle just waving my flip pole. Great. I love it.
But yeah, there's so much you can do. And like we were saying, when it comes to the bite inhibition and just not even just the bite inhibition, but matching your dog's natural needs, there's so many things that you can go out and do with your dog. And again, we'll go back to one of the bits in a minute, but there's so many different outlets and training things nowadays that almost need to try everything because although, right, so these are Dalmatians, they're born to run,
Yeah.
they're different. So Woody is much better at agility than Bucky is. And
Yeah.
granted, Bucky's not had a lot of agility training.
Yeah.
However, Woody will always be the one that's better at it because he's fast. He's
Yeah.
agile. Bucky is not fast and agile. Bucky falls off the bed. Bucky will, if he goes running, he'll tumble over and roll in a circle. Woody
So
doesn't
like
do that.
Kevin, they're so
Yeah.
similar, it's believable.
So there's different things. Like Bucky does love to run. So again, I want to try it at some point. I'm going to try man trailing with Bucky because I think trying to find us and stuff like that, sniffing. Once I get him into scent work,
Yeah.
he's going to be brilliant because he will sniff all day long. And I don't know. I might get in trouble for saying this,
Go
but it
on.
depends. It depends who's listening. I don't know if I've said this before, but Bucky's nose is that strong that he's managed to dig up a previously deceased animal in my garden.
Nice.
Because he found it and it was in a tin. So we
Yeah.
do our previous pets we have buried in the garden. We've lived here my whole life.
Yeah.
He's managed to find the tin, sniff it out, open the tin up. He didn't eat it, so it's
Yeah.
fine. But his nose is that good. This has been buried for 20 years
Yes.
and he found it.
What did he
So
do? Trust? Did he pick it up? Did he just find it? Did
there
he
wasn't
go,
a lot left
found
to
it?
it, but it was a tortoise. There wasn't a lot left to it. You had the shell and that's
Yeah.
about it. But um yeah, so he is a natural born sniffer. And while Woody's tried everything, so he's done scent work.
Yeah.
Lucky's going to be better at scent work than Woody is. And it's just finding what works for both of them. So Woody is more athletic, whereas Bucky is smarter.
Yeah.
He picks up on tricks really quickly. So I've got tricks that I do with Bucky that I've not taught Woody yet.
Yeah.
We have looked at, I don't know what it's called. I'm going to possibly try it with Woody if the physio lets me.
Mhm.
It is kind of bite work. When they go on the treadmill, they run on the treadmill and then they bite the
Yes.
dangling thing. That I can't remember what it's
I
called.
can't tell you what it's called. I
I
know
can't
what you
remember
mean,
what it's
but I
called.
haven't got a clue what it's
Another
called.
trainer in Bristol said about it, and we're just going to give it a go for the
Yeah.
sake of giving it a go. Um, so we're going to try if Woody's legs are all right. We're going to try that with him. And then there's so many other things we want to try. So we'll try man trailing with Bucky. I need to try him properly with scent work. And obviously we've done showing with Bucky. Well, while that's not necessarily a natural thing for dogs to be doing, it's something else you can try. Um, you do hoopers, don't you?
Yeah, kind of like what you've said. I've tried a little bit of everything just for the sake of trying it.
Yeah.
I love
It's just
it. Just
finding what one
dog
you enjoy
mind.
as an owner. And then two, what the dog enjoys. Like Bucky's really good at hoopers.
Yeah.
Woody sucks at hoopers, but because I did agility with Woody for 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
And he can't really do it anymore. So we thought we'd try hoopers, but hoopers is too slow for him. Like,
Yeah.
or at least with the beginners class that I've done is too slow for him. I need to be running flat out with Woody in order to do agility correctly. If I go slow, he goes wrong. I have to run. I have to keep him going, and then he does it right. So hoopers isn't for Woody, but Bucky was good at it. So yeah, boys. And it's just finding what works for like
Yeah.
either of you, doesn't it?
And like you said, we both have two dogs. They both like or are good at completely different things.
Yeah,
So Sherlock absolutely loves trick training. He
yeah,
loves like shaping stuff. He likes figuring it out and he gets really excited and his tail goes and his eyes go and he absolutely loves it. So when we went to agility, she actually had us shaping the weaves rather than
yeah,
luring it and he was figuring it out for himself. So he loves that. He's great at agility. We've tried a little bit of man trailing and he was okay and he did it.
yeah,
It wasn't he didn't do it with the same umph as he does other stuff.
yeah. I think with Woody with man trailing, it was more about the chase than the find. Whereas I think Bucky would
Yes.
actually be like he'd enjoy the finding part of things. Whereas
Yeah.
again, it's only really a beginner's one that we've done, but Woody's like, oh my god, mum's ran off. I'm gonna go chase
It
after
it
mum.
depended on, in all honesty, who was hidden. So we worked with a few different people and a few people got really confused because Sherlock was deaf. So they were
Yeah,
like, well, I can't shout and G him up because he's deaf.
Yeah, you
And then
don't
I
need
worked with
to.
this really lovely Irish police lady who was she was crazy but lovely. And she was dancing about in front of him and she was like waving food on the
Yeah,
floor for him. And he was like, oh my God, this person is
it's
amazing.
amazing.
And when she went to hide, he just switched on. She just knew how to like work him. So for him, it's definitely more of the anticipation. He
Yeah,
really, that kind of, oh, I'll go in a minute. Whereas Kevin is a bit more, I'm trying to say it politely without offending my dog. He doesn't problem solve in the same way Sherlock does. He's very much I'll just kind of brute force it and
is
see what happens.
he? So I describe Bucky as he's that kid at school who would piss around in class all day, every day, but when it comes to the exams, he's getting A star.
100%.
Yeah,
I did it the other day. It was having one of those moments where I was like, "Oh, you're driving me mental." I was like, "I've not done any tricks with you. Let's give it a try." So Sherlock can put, when you're a kid, you can get those like piggy banks that you can put plastic
yeah,
coins. Sherlock can put plastic coins into a piggy bank. So I thought, right, we'll start doing that, and I'll just have you putting a toy into a bowl.
yeah.
We'll try that. And within 3 repetitions, he was running and putting this toy in a bowl, and I was like, "That's quick."
Yeah.
So I think he is very clever. He is very switched on, but he is that typical like class
They're
clown.
dopey, aren't they? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He loves a gun dog retrieve, so we're doing gun dog stuff with him. Again, I had no intention of doing gun dog stuff with him, but he loved it. He was in the
yeah,
water, he's retrieving stuff, he's carrying stuff all the time. So I just thought, okay, let's do this for you. You obviously enjoy it. Off we go. So we've been doing some gun dog stuff. I'd like him to do agility, but I don't think he's agile enough to ever
yeah,
be able to do that. We'll give it a go and we'll try it. But I mean, he's not old enough yet, but we'll
yeah,
try it. Um, I think Sherlock's always going to be the agility one, though.
yeah. I
For
feel
sure.
your pain. It's one of those because I am ever so slightly gutted about it because Woody is amazing at agility and I really enjoy agility. And again, Bucky would do it. He's not going to be as good as that Woody ever was.
I like agility for me personally because it pushes you. You really have to concentrate and you have to
Yeah.
think. And so I have to concentrate. My
It's
dog has to
figuring out the course,
concentrate.
isn't it? So when you've
Yeah,
got a course that's got some like um rear crosses and blind crosses and this, that, and the other, you're like, oh, how do I do this? Hold on.
yeah,
And I that's what I like about it. But yeah, so I always take so I got agility tonight, and I'm not tonight, but normally I take Woody with me beforehand. Um, so I'll get there like an hour early. He'll have an hour of
yeah.
just doing a couple of reps, or I'll practice like the difficult bits to figure it out, and then he'll sit in my car or my van while I then run the class. Because he's quite content on doing that.
Yeah. No,
So
mine are
yeah,
that when I'm teaching, they'll both just sit in the back of the van. And to the point people don't realize they're in there because they're
yeah,
just sleeping in the van. But then, okay, with that in mind, we'll do the opposite. So my dogs will come to work with me, as do
yeah.
yours. We do tricks and we go out here, there, and everywhere and we do these sports and stuff. But there are days, as we've talked about before, where they don't do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean nothing. So I won't take them out for a walk. They might they'll get a Kong or an actual chew, or they'll get something to munch on. But they do just have days where they can just switch off and do
Yeah.
nothing.
And I don't know about you, but for me, on Woody's agility days, he didn't have a walk
Yeah.
because the nice thing about agility that it's both mentally and physically stimulating. It's not just physical. So before we went on to agility, we did like obedience, so just general obedience. And Woody hated it because at that point, I mean, he would have been like 10 months old. He just didn't have the attention span. Sorry, bad timing. Yeah, he didn't have the attention span. So that was why we moved on to agility because then actually he worked his both his physical needs and his mental needs because he had to figure out where to go. He had to listen. It wasn't that he was just being physically stimulated. So that was why we did it for so long and so much that we did. so he didn't get a walk that day because he didn't need it, because he would have everything he needed within that hour. And why would you need
Yeah,
to? If you're doing an hour's worth of agility, but
yeah.
on a day-to-day basis, you just do an hour walk. Why would I need to do an hour walk plus an
No,
hour of
completely.
agility? You don't
So
need it.
I tend to do it when they've had like a really busy week. So like we went to the beach last week. We went for a big walk around the forest a couple of days before. Like if Kevin's been swimming, for example, that's 30 minutes of like really intense
Hmm.
exercise. Absolutely exhausted by the end of it. I will just give him a day off.
Yeah,
So they might have 4 days where they've been quite busy. They've come to classes, we've done sports, we've gone to new places, and you can look at them and they're just wiped out.
yeah.
So they just get a day off.
And with
And
mine,
honestly, they will just sleep.
if I've got a particularly busy day, me and my partner just both walk them for 20 minutes around the block in the
Yeah,
evening.
yeah,
Because it's a sniffy walk, they're wiped out.
yeah, yeah. No,
They,
100%. Yeah. Sherlock will just sleep. Like if he has a day off, he'll come out, he'll have his breakfast. He'll go back onto my bed, obviously, not the dog bed. He'll go back onto my bed and he'll sleep for
yeah,
hours. And he's quite happy to do that.
I think people just get so um caught up in what, again, one, social media, and then previous, like, I know I've had the argument with my other half or his family, the people that don't have dogs or haven't had dogs, in that, oh, you should walk your dog every day, a dog deserves a walk every day. And while yes, to an extent, because you wouldn't want to be in your house all day every day, they don't need it.
No, no, they don't. And you've got to remember as well, so Kevin is 9 months, 10 months old. He's at that stage as well where he's growing, he's a teenager. One, he's growing, so you've got his joints to consider. Secondly, he is a teenager and he gets very over the top very, very quickly.
Yeah,
And if I go, you know what, you just need a day off today. Like if I take you out now, you're going to lose the plot.
yeah,
It's going to be too much. We'll stay in the house. We'll play some games. He'll bring me a tug toy or whatever, and we'll play tug of war or whatever. He'll have natural chews because I have a bunch of those in the cupboard ready. But apart from that, they're quite happy. But I think when you're on social media and you have a breed like a Dalmatian, Cocker Spaniel, Border
yeah,
Collie, whatever it is, and everyone's on there going, oh, you need to walk your dog for at least 3 hours a day minimum. I think it's drilled into you from
yeah.
when you get that
And
dog
I
that,
think, while I do agree working breeds should only be in a certain home,
yeah,
it's not to say family homes can't have them, but you need to be able to dedicate just as much time to that border collie as you do to your kids.
yeah,
So, okay, they can have an off day, but on that off day, then I would still be doing things like tribal or bits like that in your garden so that they get that breed need, because just doing scent work with a border collie may not be enough.
no, and I see this quite a lot whilst we're on the topic of people that buy collies, spaniels, German Shepherd,
Mallees.
Malinois, like all that kind of stuff. And then they're constantly asking, how do I calm this dog down?
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's really unfair.
They've
You
not done the
can't-
research into
Yeah,
that breed's traits and stuff like that. So, like, anyone who knows, to be honest, anyone who knows the Dalmatian or anyone who asks about Dalmatian said they're full of energy. And that's generally because they do need to run. They do. And it's one of those things. So with these two at the minute, I take them to the secure field once or twice a week so they get a proper run.
yeah,
Because Woody's reactive, so he doesn't really get as much time off lead as any other dog would. And at the minute, Bucky's still training recall because he's an adolescent and things are going backwards. So it is one of those things in that it doesn't mean that their breed traits aren't going to be met. It's just that I've got to do it in a certain way.
yeah,
So last week, I think it was, me and my other half took them to the field, and it was like the first nice night we had or something. So it
yeah.
was like 6 o'clock. And we just ran around the fields with them. Like, it was like sprints, but they loved it. And they got that run that they needed. And it was something different. So even if you can't, pardon me, can't do a couple of minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes once a day as a minimum for your breed trait needs, then like a spaniel, right, make it do scent work, because they
Yeah.
sniff, that's what they do. A Labrador, right, literally play fetch. Well,
Yep.
obviously we don't push out doing too much fetch because of joints and this, that, and do some retrieve,
Yep.
put their toy out, get them to bring it back. All of that sort of thing. There are
I
breed
do
traits that,
so lazy, but it tires them out. So I have my coffee and I go and I hide a dummy somewhere in the house or in the garden. I then open the door, I send them both to find it, and they will spend ages looking for that dummy while
mm-hmm,
I sit here and have my coffee.
yeah,
They'll bring it back to me, so I don't even have to move. They'll bring it back to me. I tell them to sit and I wait, and I go and do it again.
mm-hmm,
Tires them out. They're absolutely exhausted, but I don't have to do anything. Really easy to do.
yeah. And there is, I think, while obviously we started off in the conversation of dogs being overweight, you can do not enough, but you can
Yeah.
also do too much. I've known clients who they'll have a one-to-one session with the trainer and then I'll be in half an hour later to walk them.
Yeah.
Or dogs that get walked 3 times a day, whether they won't toilet in the garden, which is a different issue in itself. We'll talk about
Yeah.
another day. Or whether they just got used to it and they started walking their dog 3 times a day. My dogs don't get walked 3 times a day. They will never get walked 3 times a day. They don't get walked twice a day. Very rarely, probably. If I'm in a good mood and I felt like it, then great. But they get walked once a day. They'll get
I'm the
enrichment
same.
throughout the day.
Yeah. Mine aren't on a routine. It's
Nope.
like sometimes we'll get up and we'll go straight out for a walk. Sometimes I'll get up and I'll book the field. Sometimes we won't go out till the afternoon. Sometimes I'll get all my work done and then we'll go for 2 hours up around the country park or something whilst the
Mm-hmm.
weather's nice. It depends.
And like
But
for us today, it's likely that Woody will go up to stables and play with the yard dog, and
yeah,
that'd be a thing for the day. He's gone outside. He's gone to the stables. Where I have my horses, it's a big courtyard. So
yeah,
if he wants to play with the yard dog, he'll get to run around playing with the yard dog. If not, he gets to go out. He gets to sniff. He's out of the house. He's doing that. And then, like I said, generally Woody will come to agility on a Friday, but I'm going to take Bucky tonight just to give him that extra bit to do. So Bucky, that'll be 6 o'clock. So he's not. They've been in the garden, but
mhm,
they're not doing anything else today. Tomorrow they're probably not going to get a walk till quite late because I'm training all day, and then Sunday is Mother's Day, so I'm probably going to have to walk on both on my own, which is fine. But they'll get a proper walk on Sunday. So it's a mix. Every day is different. I think what day did I take them to the secure field? Tuesday I took them to the secure field. So they've had, and I think they also went Saturday or Sunday or something. So they've had a good run at some point. And it's a mix every single day because again, I don't want to be that person with a dog who sits and cries at me at 9 o'clock in the morning because they're used to going for a walk at 9 o'clock in the morning. It's not for me.
I've had that before. I've had clients, not so much in the winter because obviously that's fine, but I've had clients that have got a walking routine where they take the dog out at, let's say, like 9 and 3 and 6 every day, for example. And then you get to the summer and it's too hot to
Mm-hmm.
walk at 3 o'clock in the afternoon,
But
but
the
the
dog's
dog
whining.
will sit there and whine and bark and won't be able to sleep or settle to the point I've known people take their dog out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon
And
in
it's different if
in
like because we've had previous clients, again, dogs who won't go to the toilet in the garden. If you've got to walk them down to the end of your road, go to a patch of grass, go to the toilet, then
yeah,
fine. It is what it is. Um, Again, that's another issue for another day. But again, people don't notice or realize that actually we can create our own issues with our dogs. So
yeah,
by sticking to a routine, you're going to create a dog that then wants that every single day, regardless of the situation. You could get snowed in, can't leave the front door, but
yeah,
your dog's going to be crying, and not understand why they can't go out. Like
yeah,
it's one of those things, or feeding at the same time every day. So generally, we don't feed at the same time every day. In the mornings, they kind of get fed at the same time,
yeah,
only because my other half does it before it goes to work. But in the evening, it can vary any time between 5 and 8.
yeah.
Ideally, closer end of the scale, but we don't because what if we go out for the day? What if we go to the beach and we don't get home till late at night or something like that?
Yeah,
Like,
you've got to factor in when you've got a breed like ours, you've got to factor in that exercise to eating time. So yeah, I will do the same. Like if I know, like we went to the beach the other day, so I got up and I fed them early. If I
Yeah.
have training classes and they're in the van with me, they might get fed later. If I've got a one-to-one where I know Sherlock's going to have to come with me, that'll change what time he gets fed. It's just one of those things, isn't it?
Yeah. And again, it'd be something that we come back to another date. But you've got to think as well, if you've got a dog that's so stuck in routine, what happens one day if either you break your leg or they break their leg, and either you're on bed rest, the dog's on crate rest, and you physically cannot go out and take it. Okay, if I break my leg, I'll pay someone else to do it. That's fine. But not everyone has that ability to be able to do it. Sorry, 2 seconds, Bucky to be a menace. Bucky, um, not everyone has that capability or the money to be able to pay someone else to do it, or the family that can do it.
Like, and we
Um,
both got kennel cough, didn't we?
yeah.
And my dog said 2 weeks where they weren't allowed to go out.
And for a dog that is in a routine, you'd be screwed.
Oh,
Absolutely screwed. And for me, again, that's also why things like I crate train my dogs. Because
yeah,
what if, again, one of them breaks their legs and they've got to go and crate rest for 6 weeks? Well, if you've not trained it, it's going to hate it and it's going to be petrified. Or if they've got to stay in the vet overnight, it's a kennel. At least if you've done crate training, they're somewhat comfortable with being confined.
yeah. You're taking some stress out of a already stressful situation,
Yeah.
aren't you?
Right. I think we're going to end it there today.
Yeah,
Um, thank you very much for listening. As usual, like, save, subscribe, share, all of the normal bits.
yeah.
Um, and then we will see you next time.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. Bye.